the war raged on. The question remains, is everything in this war really impossible? If it is just possible, then what is impossible? And what do these words mean that the founding fathers said, all men are equal? What does these words mean? Does it mean like only white people are supposed to be free? Or should both like white and black people should be free? Well, today mostly people would say this, but in the olden days, only the North said that. Only the North said this, and the South only this. So today we'll be answering the question. Union versus Confederacy. The American Civil War. Dun da da dun da da dun da da dun 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 dark sun. Alright, are you recording? Yes, okay. Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode on this channel. Today we'll be talking about, the Civil War. But however, just to be specific, why not just the Civil War? It's because of this reason. Let me show you. Now, all over the world, let me first draw a big map of the whole world. Right here, a little bit of Japan, all this stuff, India, all that stuff, UK, Spain, and all that stuff. All of these continents are important, except Antarctica, that is. Now, all of these continents, the whole world, the whole expansion of the world by the equator and the prime meridian, has all had civil wars. Like, take the U.S. for example. There's the American Civil War. Then Spain, there's the Spanish Civil War. And there were the Korean Wars, which is basically a Korean version of the Korean Civil War. And then, well, there was also, actually this might be hard to believe, but also there was also a Russian Civil War. And then some other rosy countries went into civilized, and basically all over the world, there are lots of civil wars. Most of them actually gone with were done with the Cold War, but that's for literally another episode for celebrate this all. Now today we're focusing on this Civil War, the American Civil War. American Civil War. Now basically, what is the American Civil War? Well, let's go find out. Come on, let's roll the clips. Alright, so there are basically two teams. Yeah, two teams right here. Now one of them, let me change colors first. Now one of them are the Unions. Usually we call them just by USA or the Union. We'll call them Unions for now. And the other ones are the Confederates. Actually, let's use red. Yeah, let's use red. These are the Confederates. Let's just change the color to yellow. Yellow looks standing out of this page. Confederates, which are basically, we call them the CSA because they're like Confederate States of America. Confederate States of America. Yeah, right here. Confederate States of America. Now, basically, let's tidy up everything here and let's focus on the most important things right here. Now, let me start with blue because that's where the Union is. Now, it is like this. Now, first of all, the Unions are all of these stripes. And first of all, there were 11 states and then 11 states on the Confederate sides. And first of all, they were equal. But then a new state came along, and then this happened. It was like this. First of all, the USA thought they will get 12 states, but then also the CSA also thought they will also get the 12 states. So instead, coincidentally, this happened. The USA stayed 11, while the Confederates got the 12 states that they wanted. And then that's when they both equally got the same amounts into 12 again. And it was stayed like this for a few years actually. But then later, problems broke out. Now, this is basically all the troops that we needed. First of all, there are the blue Unions, and second of all, there are the black. Of course, the black Confederates. Now, these colors I actually got mixed up. These are supposed to be blue, not purple. However, these are pretty good. Now, they fought together. Like, graveyards. And their goals were these. Actually, let me do a darker one. That would make sense. These were their goals. Now, let's just look at a map of the USA for a moment, and we'll focus on all their parts. Now, all the fighting actually... Now, these blue parts are all the states that the United States actually first got. Now, first of all, let's talk about this. Alright, first of all of these red states right here, we use them with yellow for now. All of these red states right here are all the CSA, which will be coming to the CSA, but we haven't gotten that part yet. First of all, the Union was a happy state. Actually about first, and then they broke their boundaries, and then all of these new states were born. But then later they all competed. First of all, the Southerners were actually not to this borderline, but they were actually this borderline. This is what the CSA was actually like. Oh, I missed it. Actually, it was like this. But however, these states right here said, well, on the declaration of all of these states, first of all, this state went away, and then slowly all of the other states went away. However, there were only 4 states remaining, and each of all of these states thought that these will leave. But then later they just said these states were remaining. Actually, let me do this all over again. Oh my goodness, this is so annoying. Now let's change the color to purple. Now these states said that they will not leave the Union, but they will not preserve slaves, but they will preserve slavery. And then the Union had 11. The Union had 11 of those states. 11, while the South also had 11. Then later their numbers grew 12, and that's how. But the states aren't the numbers here. And it is commonly believed if you have more state numbers than the other state, that means it will be like this, like 12 here, and then like that. It will be like unhappy. Happy here and unhappy here. And that's exactly what really, literally happened. First of all, the Union actually got all the powers, and the fighting actually mostly got into this part right here. Now, Washington, D.C. is fairly... Actually, let's use green here. Was fairly about in this destination. Well, Richmond was somewhere right... actually, somebody move the map, please. Yeah, that was better. So, Washington, D.C. was about here. And then Richmond was somewhere south right here. Yeah, if my calculations are correct. Now let's unsize the map for now. Hey. Oh yeah. Now if you want, now let's just pinpoint all those destinations first. And then right here. So first of all, there was this general called McClellan, which is actually, I have to say, McClellan was one of the stupidest generals in the whole U.S. history. He was dumb and said the president, who was Abraham Lincoln by then, was unworthy. And he said, I'm pretty cool, and I should rule the world. Now back to the fighting. I'm scribbling here. Now, first of all, Abraham's strategy was this: go into south and then flank the Richmond. But however, McCloy always said that go here, flank them. But on the way there, zoom in there, yeah, like here. On the way there, he met the forces of the Confederates, and they were fighting and fighting and fighting. But then all the Confederate forces retreated, and instead they fled all the way to Richmond. And then when the Union arrived to Richmond, before they even arrived to Richmond, they were blocked by the Southerners again, and they lost. All the Unions had to retreat back all the way up there. Now to McCloy, it was like everything was a success to him. Now this is getting a little annoying. Success to him. But however, it wasn't a success to the president at all. Then there were more fightings at all. But then later there were like every more generals were defeated by all the Confederates. But then finally one day, one of the generals actually did succeed, and his name was, well, one of the greatest known names in the history. But I want you to figure that out for yourself. Now there were fighting and tensions going on right here. Now Richmond is right here, and the Washington D.C. is right here, so they're pretty close. So they flanked each other. Richmond. Now here is how exactly what it works. Now let's study right there. Right there. Richmond is right here, roughly. And then when the Union came, they were fighting. But then finally there was some good news. On the western side of Mississippi, right here, Mississippi River should be roughly right here. So this is where everything actually got naughty. Now these sides knew that they were collapsed. If the Union was actually, let me do a different shade. If the Union was able to get control of the whole Mississippi, that means the Confederates are split in two. That wasn't a good sign. So they fought bravely at the Mississippi. They lost, and this was all their land. Then later, back at Richmond, everything was still a disaster. Everything was still going according to plan. They were fighting, and then finally, after a few more victories, this is exactly what happened. Richmond fell, and it became the Unions. Now Texas right here, Texas and some of the other states like here, Texas and other states nearby like Florida and all those stuff actually refused to surrender. They were still part of the Union. They were still part of the Confederates, but the war was still more likely over. Then all of these parts were all the Unions now. Then later, Texas, these states were all forced to surrender, and the whole Union became a happy country once again. Now, if you want to know one of the best ones right here, here's actually a map with the names of this. Map of the names of these, if you want to. Now here. If you compare this story with this story, you might be able to understand what it is like. And also, I'll remind you, this state here is not Los Angeles. Now, this is Abraham Lincoln during the war. And actually, let's change the color. Now let's change the color. Okay, all right. Let's use purple or pink. Let's just call it purple. Now this is actually Abraham Lincoln during the war. And then this is when he was actually called the most photographed man of his time. The photographed man of his time. Kick! But however, nobody has been able to photograph Abraham Lincoln with anything, with his personal feelings, except his cheek. What the? All right, we're back on set. We're back on set. Stupid hands. All right. Here is Abraham Lincoln and his cheekbone, and this was one of his most photographed times of all. And then later, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. Was killed by John Wilkes Booth. Actually, let's use blood color. And there was nothing that the doctors could do about anything. And so he died. But however, we do celebrate. We do use some ways to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's day, though. Abraham Lincoln's day, though. We made a memorial of him with a statue of Abraham Lincoln. This is pretty tall. I actually went here once. You can check out another video for that. And also, there's also the Lincoln Memorial. Lincoln Memorial. It says, in this temple. Actually, let's not use that. In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. So yeah, I hope you will never forget Abraham Lincoln and his edicties. So yeah, that's basically it for Abraham Lincoln. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next episode. Dun 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 dun. Subscribe. Click the bell and like this video. Please do this and this and this. Bye bye. Shannon out.